for 13 years. They now recognise that through a plaque, which you'll see later, but also the actual name of the site is called Battle Mountain. So, I believe, and I'm sure each and every one of you do too, that our history shapes us. In giving my introduction from myself, and particularly from the Wanji Nation, I'd like each and every one of you to think of one thing from your heritage that you, as an individual, carry the traits of today. And just take a moment of reflection for that. We're told that, oh, you're like this, you're like that person, oh, you remind me of this person, oh, you remind me of that other person when you do this, any particular movement or trait that you carry. But think right back to in your heritage. What are those things that come from people as opposed to a person? This is the memorial, the Captain Memorial. I'll let you read that yourselves. I'll just move on, thinking about those traits that we carry, yeah? For me, it's that warrior spirit, that sense of justice, that sense of fighting back against unfairness, that sense of inequality not quite fitting or doesn't have a place, the sense of imbalance not being proper, exclusions, resolutions, but problem solving. Originally, I was told I should have been a healer or a teacher. And I'm told this from an uncle who's now passed away, who actually taught us dance back in the 70s, I think, Vicky. Yeah. And I fought against that. I became a dancer. I thought my avenue was dance. So here I am today. It's led me here. This is where it started for me, around the campfire at the beach. My father was heavily involved in politics, so they would go to the beach and talk because, unfortunately, during those days, any gathering of any large numbers was illegal for Aboriginal people. So, at night time, we'd go to the beach and have a campfire under the pretense that it was food, yeah? So politics was part of my upbringing. Stories was part of my upbringing because I was usually the only child there. So to keep me occupied, they'd send me down the beach, even though it was dark, send me down the beach and say, okay, make it this movement. Here's a story, you make movement to it. So I would run away like the dutiful daughter and practice my moves on the beach and come back and present it to them, just so that I was kept busy. So men, interestingly enough, was also a major part of my life. Because my parents split up. My mother moved south and my father stayed in Cairns and I opted to live with my father. So men was a huge part of my life. That was a cultural side, but I was introduced to television at a young age. And I was introduced to this person at a young age. For those of you that can't quite see, it's Dame Margot Fontaine, and I thought she was amazing, particularly when she was doing this. So I wanted to do that as well. I was doing my cultural dancing on the beach and I was doing the stories that they told me, but this was something different. And I was like, wow, I'm for the challenge. Instead, I played hockey, I did swimming, I played softball, I even played table tennis, I did gymnastics, and I did basketball. And I represented in virtually all of them, except for the table tennis. Kind of got past me. Then, my father became one of the first of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Arts Board of the Australia Council, and that was back in 1973, I think it is. But he mentioned this young lady, pictured here, a young lady by the name of Rosalind Watson. I wanted to be like her. She was the only Aboriginal person that I knew of who did ballet. Unfortunately, I was playing hockey. Here is Rosalind with Harold Collins. This comes back around, as I'll explain. I was playing hockey, and I decided to go to the shop to get lollies, as you do when you play hockey. And my father had already told me about Rosalind Watson, so I knew that she was on the horizon somewhere. It just happened to be, this Saturday morning, as I was in buying lollies, there was this person standing in the phone box. In those days, there were no mobile phones. She was in the phone box, and I went, I kind of recognise her. Like, she looks different. And as you know, dancers, particularly classical dancers, have a different way we hold ourselves. So I took up the courage to ask her, and I opened the phone box. She was on the phone. I opened the phone box and I asked her, are you Rosalind Watson? In Cairns, of all places. So she was like, okay, she finished the conversation. I'm standing there looking at her. Are you Rosalind Watson? Yes. So I was like, wow, I want to be like you in my hockey uniform. So I decided to join NAISA, and in those days I think it was called the Aboriginal Islander Dance Theatre at the college. So that's me, my dance days, in Glebe in Sydney. In 1988, I was 26 years old, and part of our course in NAISA was each year we had to put feedback about what were our goals, what were our aspirations. So, coming up to the end of my training course, I said, I want to be part of the first Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander dance company. This was a response, in inverted commas. That'll never happen in your lifetime. And you're too ambitious as a 26-year-old. Thank goodness for the bicentennial. Because then I had a chance to actually present on the international stage. The English Prince Charles and his wife Diana were in the front row, and I opened the Indigenous section, which was televised. With this in mind, you were too ambitious, and it'll probably never happen in your lifetime. And I apologise for getting so emotional. I'm going to blame it on Liz. So, that was a red flag for me. And I thought, why? Why would it happen in my lifetime? Surely we have the means, we have the training course, we have the numbers coming through the college. So I took it upon myself to do something about it. Those traits from my heritage, the resilience, the problem solving, came into play. I said to the director of the college at the time, why can't we do this? Surely we can do this. He said, what do you think it takes to do this? And I said, well, we're dancers. All we need is repertoire. And each year, like as you know, NAISA presents an annual show. So we had repertoire. And I said, all we need to do is get permission from our teachers for that repertoire to put it together in a program. At 26-year-old, I was doing the thinking for them. So we did it. We did it. It was launched in Orange in 1989 in the winter, and we toured extensively, both internationally and domestically. And there's a photo of us in Tiwi, the Tiwi dress. Yes, and one of those people, unfortunately, has passed away since, which is why I used the photo to pay homage to them, because it's this, for me in particular, it marks time. It marks the passage of time. It marks what happens in any particular given moment in time. We can look back on photographs and go, during that moment, I remember this. So we carry that mark of time with us through time. I carried marked time from where I sat to the lectern. That particular stepping is actually called mark time. It moves us from one place in one moment in time to another place in another moment in time. Then, after an ankle injury in AIDT, the company, I actually tore the sheath of my Achilles. This is a kind of recurring theme which you'll hear. I stopped dancing there, and then many years later I received a phone call from the second artistic director of Bangarra, Stephen Page, asking if I'd like to dance again. And with this in mind, it had been something like 2 years, I think, since my injury, a major injury. And I thought, wow, I know Stephen kind of likes to squat. That was you'll know, that was a kind of a trademark of his. Everybody was amazed at the length of his Achilles. And the squat was incredible. And it seems to be something of the whole Page family, the boys in particular, they had these incredible squats. So with this Achilles injury, I thought, how the heck am I going to do that? But up to the challenge, remember Battle Mountain, 7 years. I was up for the challenge. So I'd also like to pay homage to Raina Sawyer, the first artistic director of Bangarra, who was the one who said to me, good enough is never good enough. This was the first production that Bangarra did with the Australian Ballet, and it was Rites of Spring. And this photo in particular is a lift that I devised for that particular production. Myself, Gina Rings, is my platform, and hidden, like all good men should be, apologies, is Albert David behind. He's there for support, which is we're very thankful for. So, I'm getting shakes in the head from Ruth Osborne. So, this for me is another marking of time. It was made into a postcard, but it was never disseminated out into the public domain because it wasn't something that was of the artistic director's vocabulary. Yeah, so just aware of those parameters and aware of those respects for each other and you pay reference to Vicky's piece last night, parameters to other people's work, other people's parameters and how we actually view those. So, here we come back to the feet theme. I did do my Achilles previously at AIDT, the company. In Bangarra, I actually broke my foot. I took it a step further, and of all places, I did it here in Canberra. So, but the context around there is that it was 2 weeks after my father died. So there was a lot of, I think, grief there, and there was, as we believe, and when I said we, I mean cultural premises here, we believe that there was time to stop and take stock of where we are as a people. When there's a passing in your family, it is about who then, once again, feet, steps up to the plate, yeah, and in more capacity. I've mentioned that I was supposed to be a teacher and a healer. I opted for dance. So then I reflected, what are the qualities in my heritage that can allow me to be either a teacher or a healer? Pardon me. Pardon me. So I embarked on a business degree, as you do. And it led me into arts management, and it led me to the other side of show business. I think it was Woody Allen who was renowned for a quote, something about show business, and he said, what is one without the other in the performing arts? Something along those lines. So I kept that in mind, going, well, I've done the showing bit, I've done it quite excessively. What about the business side of things? And during this time in my life, and also in the arts, it was about what did we need? What was missing and what did we need? We had our company, but where was the infrastructure? Where were the resources to cater for an Indigenous dance company? I found that in both companies, and it was completely frustrating. So the Bachelor of Business for me was about making a start into the foray of those supporting skills and the supporting infrastructure to further the development of Indigenous arts in Australia. So I was marking time as the first Indigenous dancer to make that switch, or in dance terms, the jump. Then down the track, that came into operation with this organisation. Once again, you'll see the reference to feet. Yeah? Sitting in the front row, we have Ms. Julie Dyson, thank you. And I'd like to pay homage to her as my mentor during this process, thank you. This was a lengthy process in getting BlakDance started, and it started from 2005 with the Green Pathways for here in Canberra. So Canberra has a huge role in the development of Indigenous dance in this country, and so it should be. If it's about the development of Australia as a whole, as a political capital, it also is about development of dance nationally. So from 2005, from the National Conference of Creative Pathways, we then went on, thank goodness for Australia Council, and a decision to fund a position to then establish training and pathways, which was about looking at a strategy and the implementation of that strategy towards further development of our contemporary sector specifically. To spearhead that, as I phrased it, we chose 3 dancers in particular. Gary Lane in the Northern Territory, who was not so long ago a recipient of an Australia Council Fellowship, Richard Price, a Torres Strait Islander practitioner, and also Miss Vicky Van Hoot. So you can see the payoff for that all these years later. That was in, I think, 2007 was the starting of training pathways. I'm looking for Julie for confirmation. And then the go-ahead for BlakDance came around 2010 to this day. So watching that development, you as an audience are privileged enough to see the outcome of that marking of time from that moment to this moment last night. The foot, as you see, is a recurring theme of my life. So I said to the graphic designer, can the logo be something around feet? Because as dancers, or a lot of us anyway, rely on feet. That logo is a person with their arms above their head. The reaching, the toes, as depicted in the logo, is the communities that their dance reaches. The circles at the bottom is the communities that the dancer comes from. So it's marking time from one community through the dancer to the reach of the other communities. With all of that, the question is posed, how do you mark time? What is it in our lives and in our lives as dancers, arts workers, people, that lets us know that we are making the most of life? For some, it has been the acknowledgement that we were here, as I've presented you today. In what capacity we were here is entirely up to us, as you've seen the choices that we make individually. But acknowledgement is up to them, to the others. Sometimes the unknown force, the unknown factor that we may not consider as we embark upon our own journeys. What makes what we do worthwhile? To even be acknowledged by others. And do we, as artists, as people, need that acknowledgement to continue? Do we need that acknowledgement to say, I thought this about what you did, to then spur us on to create further, to then do further, to then be involved somehow, to then contribute somehow or other? So, I've taken you on a bit of a journey of firsts that you saw. The first dancer in the Australian Ballet. And I will make reference back to that. Harold Collins was then the artistic director of the Queensland Ballet in 1988, when myself and fellow dancer Pinar Gee were guest artists. So that photo of Rosalind and Harold came back to impact on my life again. The dance, interestingly enough, that photo was from, was very similar to the production which he produced in 1988 called Once Around the Sun, and unknown to me until this year. So I entered into that like naive of my dance history. So I've taken you on that journey of firsts, but it will always be others that make mine and your journeys last. Thank you.